Smalls.
And I'm Tarzan. We're super excited to fall into the next season with you. Whether you're from our church family, Camp Connect, or joining us for the first time, we're so excited that you're joining us today.
It's a new season and a new theme for the next few weeks. We are going to be talking about focus, faith, trusting in what you can't see because of what you can see. This week, we are going to talk more specifically about how you can know Jesus even though you've never seen him.
To go with our new theme, we have a new theme song. I know, it's new, but it just means you'll have to focus a little harder. It's kind of like this is going to be a little practice before we talk about it. I'll see you after our new theme song.
This is my faith, this is my focus, all of my days. I know where my hope is, I'll live it loud, I'll shout the chorus, because I know, oh, you're always for us. And even when it's hard for me to see, I will trust in you, I will believe. And even when it's hard for me to see, I will trust in you, I will believe. And keep on looking to you for where I'm going, knowing you go there too. I'll keep on looking to you. I fix my eyes on you. You are my only focus. You are my only focus. You are my only focus. I fix my eyes on you. This is my faith, this is my focus, all of my days. I know where my hope is, I'll live it loud, I'll shout the chorus, because I know, oh, you're always for us. And even when it's hard for me to see, I will trust in you, I will believe. And even when it's hard for me to see, I will trust in you, I will believe. And keep on looking to you for where I'm going, knowing you go there too. I'll keep on looking to you. I'll fix my eyes on you. You are my only focus. You are my only focus. You are my only focus. I fix my eyes on you, oh yeah. Woo! You ready? Come on, let's go. Hands in the air, I know you're there, anywhere, oh. I fix my eyes on you. Hands in the air, I know you're there, anywhere, I fix my eyes on you. And keep on looking to you for where I'm going, knowing you go there too. I'll keep on looking to you. I'll fix my eyes on you. You are my only, you are my only focus. You are my only focus. I fix my eyes on you.
Smalls,
Yeah?
would you say we work well together?
Yeah, I think so. What?
Would you say that we think a lot alike?
Yes, I think so.
Would you say that we share a mind?
Okay, I would not go that far at all.
Well, I'm willing to put it to the test.
Oh, what's the test?
We're going to play a game called Picture It. You can play this game at home if you have a crayon, some paper, and another person. make sure you ask the other person and make sure you're wearing clothes that you're not worried about getting ink on. I am going to draw something on your back using a marker and a piece of paper. While I draw that, you're going to draw the same thing on your own piece of paper that I'm gonna stick to the wall. Got it?
Yep.
Awesome. Let's go. All right. You ready, Smalls?
Yep.
All right. All right, Smalls. How confident do you feel about your artistic ability?
I'm not so sure.
All right, we're gonna do a reveal in a second,
Okay.
but we gotta get in position first. I want it to be perfect. All right. Ready? So there's yours. Ready?
Yep.
Here it is, everyone. Don't look, Smalls. I'll show you in a second. All right. How do you think you did? You did pretty well.
Honestly, not terrible. I expected it to be way worse, so.
Well, honestly, even if it had not gone well, you had to trust me a lot. Now, that kind of means you had to put faith in what I was saying and what I was doing to make sure your picture came out properly, and that I wasn't going to have you draw something ridiculous. Now, this reminds me of a story, which I'm going to tell you after we sing our next song.
Are you ready? Help me sing it now. 1, 2, 3, let's go. I was made to do amazing things. I know. I was made to be his hands and feet. I know. God made me to shine, makes me come alive, makes me wanna live my life for him. God made me to shine, makes me come alive, makes me wanna live my life. Wanna dance all around. I wanna jump and sing out loud. He is the light I found, I just can't hide it now. I wanna shout it out to the world. God made me, yeah, and I'm unique, yeah. I wanna go wherever he will lead. I will go. Imagine all the possibilities. Oh, I know. God made me to shine, makes me come alive, makes me wanna live my life for him. God made me to shine, makes me come alive, makes me wanna live my life. I wanna dance all around. I wanna jump and sing out loud. He is the light I found, I just can't hide it now. I wanna shout it out to the world. Well, I am wired and wonderfully made by desire to sing his praise, shout it louder. I believe God made me to shine. Well, I am wired and wonderfully made by desire to sing his praise, shout it louder. I believe God made me to shine. Oh, God made me to shine, makes me come alive, makes me wanna live my life for him. God made me to shine, makes me come alive, makes me wanna live my life. Wanna dance all around. I wanna jump, sing out loud. He is the light I found, I just can't hide it now. I wanna shout it out to the world. God made me, yeah, and I'm unique.
so glad to see all of you. Why am I squinting? Well, sometimes when we can't see, we have to squint our eyes so that we can focus. It's like, it lets us take another. Okay, take 5.
Take 5.
You're missing a word, that wasn't me.
My bad.
I am so glad to see all of you. Why am I squinting? Well, sometimes when we can't see, we have to squint our eyes so that our eyes will focus. It lets us take a closer look. Faith is kind of like that. Sometimes in order to trust God, we have to focus and take a closer look, especially since we can't actually see God. Faith is trusting in what you can't see because of what you can see.
Oh, I am so sorry. What are we talking about?
Faith.
Oh, faith. Right. Oh yeah, my story. Now, I'm sure you've all heard this saying before. There's loads of famous ones about faith, like keep the faith, or to take a leap of faith. Now, the guys from my story, they know a thing or two about taking a leap of faith. So there's this guy, his name is Abraham. Well, at the start of this story, his name's Abram. But anyways, Abram lived in this place called Ur thousands of years ago. It was the place to live. But God told Abram it was time for him to move. And not just him, his wife, his cousins, his aunts, his uncles, his servants, his goats. Oh yeah, did I mention that he was like really rich? So he had to gather all his stuff and move to a whole new country. God told Abram to change his name to Abraham, and that he was going to start a whole new nation of people, a whole new country. Abraham found this kind of hard to believe because the other thing I didn't mention, Abraham's an old man, and his wife is kind of an old lady. So they didn't have kids and they were never going to have kids, so how were they ever going to start a whole nation? George Michael, he has a great song about faith. Oh, I think it would be nice.
Tyson,
Yes,
back to your story.
right. So, how was he supposed to have kids? But then again, he did have a kid. A couple, actually. His one son was named Isaac, and he had a son named Jacob, who became known as Israel. Didn't your dad go to Israel?
Tarzan, back to the story.
And then there's Moses. God spoke to Moses through a burning bush. He turned down being a prince to stand with his people. Have you ever seen the 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston? Let my people go. It's a great movie. I watch it every
Tarzan,
Easter.
your story.
Right. Oh, and I forgot to talk about David. God told him that he was going to be a king. He was going to win a war by beating a giant. He was going to build beautiful buildings and be a great leader. And he did.
David? Well, what about Abraham? Or Isaac? Or Jacob? Or Moses?
Yeah, what about him? The story's not even about that.
Tarzan. Oh, okay. You need to focus on the story.
Well, I was about to get to it, but then you started getting us off topic by interrupting me about Abraham and Isaac, Jacob, and Moses. I'm trying to get to my story here. So, this story isn't really about one person in particular. This story is about the early believers who took a leap of faith on the teachings of a man they'd never even met. But they had faith in those who had met Jesus, and they had faith in Jesus' teachings too. They made the choice to listen to what Jesus had to say about loving other people and putting them into practice. And it was surprisingly easy for them because they saw Jesus' love and the people who had met him. This is just like us. We don't have to see God to see his love around us. And we can be the same. If we focus on our actions, we can show God's love and kindness to others.
Honestly, Tarzan, I had no idea that there was even going to be a point to what you said, but you really pulled that one back together.
Crushed it.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. the epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now for an amazing story, inspired by the book of Hebrews, chapters 11 and 12.
Gotta have a little faith, 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 faith. Keep the faith. Take a leap of faith. You know, a lot of people toss around the word faith lately. We say you can break the faith, or just take it all on blind faith. But true faith isn't blind at all. It's much more than just an inspirational word. True faith has to do with believing in all the things you can't see, because you start with what you can see. Now, we can't see God with our physical eyes, but we can see the stories of people who came before us. They lived in a broken world like we do, but they chose to follow God. They chose to trust His promise that one day He would send a rescuer that would make everything right again. The writer of Hebrews in the New Testament tells us about some of these men and women in God's story. People like Noah, people like Abraham.
Abraham.
When God called Abraham, he was already getting old. He and his wife Sarah didn't have kids.
Leave your country and your people. Leave your father's family. Go to the land I will show you. All nations on earth will be blessed because of you.
God was planning on sending His rescuer as one of Abraham's great, etc. grandchildren. But still, even though Abraham had God's promise, he still couldn't see the one God was sending. Still, Abraham went on a wild adventure, following God's call. And even his descendants, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, all chose faith in God. Moses, too, was called by God from the fiery heart of a burning bush. Even though he was raised by Pharaoh's daughter, he chose to stand with his own people and face Pharaoh's anger to win freedom. We read about it like this in the book of Hebrews.
Moses suffered shame because of Christ. He thought it of great value.
See, when you check out Hebrews, you discover this huge list of people who followed God by faith, so many that the writer just stops trying to list all of them. Oh, but we can't forget Israel's most important king, David.
Get up and anoint him. This is the one.
Even though God had promised David would be king, though, David spent years on the run from King Saul, fearing for his life. Still, he chose to trust God.
The Lord is my shepherd. He gives me everything I need.
Now, none of these people in the Old Testament could see with their eyes how God was going to save His people, but they could see how He was working in their lives, how their needs were being met. So they chose to believe in His greater plan. They chose faith.
Faith is being sure of what we hope for. It is being sure of what we do not see. That is what the people of long ago were praised for.
Now, here's where the story turns. In Hebrews, we discover that none of those people in the Old Testament received what God had promised here on earth.
That's because God had planned something better for us, so they would only be made perfect together with us.
God's plan includes all of us from the very beginning of creation. So at just the right moment, at the perfect point in time, God sent His rescuer, the hero, His very own Son, Jesus. Jesus showed us how to live. He showed us what God was like, and He told us the most important thing.
If you love one another, everyone will know you are my disciples.
Love God, love others. It's the heart of the whole story. But then, Jesus was killed, and His friends thought the story was finished. Period. Dot. The end. Until God raised Him back to life. Jesus has defeated death, and those who follow Him can live with Him forever. But how do you follow someone you can't see? Well, that brings us back to faith.
Let us keep looking to Jesus. He is the one who started this journey of faith, and He is the one who completes this journey of faith. He paid no attention to the shame of the cross. He suffered there because of the joy He was looking forward to. So think about Him. Then you won't lose hope.
The early believers, Peter and John and other followers of Jesus, had seen him teach and heal. They saw him after God raised him to life. But after Jesus returned to heaven, the believers continued to live by faith.
We have to speak about the things we've seen and heard.
Because of what the new Christians in the early church had seen, they could believe in what they could not yet see, the end of the story, where God makes everything right. They kept the faith, and because they did, we can choose faith too.
We're going to play a quick game of I Spy. Now, it's not going to work quite like you think. I'm going to tell you to look for something in the room, and I want for you to point at it as quickly as possible. So let's do a practice, okay? So if I say a light bulb, you need to point at a light bulb. Okay, you got it?
I got it.
Okay, you're gonna have to focus on this. Ready? I want you to point at something red. Ooh. Okay, now something big. Something made of wood. Something soft. Something that makes you happy. Something that makes you feel loved. I'm sure it was really easy to find something red, like this right behind us. It doesn't take too much focus to find the obvious things, but sometimes you have to focus extra hard to find the things we can't see. You can't see love or see happiness, but you can feel them. This is kind of like God's love for us. We may not be able to see God, but we can see His love at work in the world around us if we really focus and look for it.
What do you believe in? You believe I can catch a ball because you just saw me do it. You believe your dog is shedding his winter coat because you can see all the fur that your dad makes you clean up. You believe the floor is solid because you haven't fallen through it yet. Some people say seeing is believing, but faith says use what you can see to believe in what you can't see. You can't see the wind, but on those wild, stormy evenings, you can see what it does. Whew. You can't see what's happening inside your stomach without an x-ray machine, but you believe that this can be fixed by this. You can't see your parents' love, but you can see the way your mom cuts your sandwich just the way you like it, and how dad drives you to soccer 4 times a week. And no, you can't see God with your physical eyes, but you can see Him in everything He's created. You can see His love in the kid who's kind to you on the bus, and the drive-thru lady who smiles and gives you extra fries. Most of all, you can see who God is in Jesus and the eyewitness accounts written down by His best friends. When you trust, even when it's hard to see, when you live a life based on faith in who God is and how He tells us to love, others can see God at work in you. That's why faith is an amazing way to worship God with your life. Because worship is about more than just singing loud. It's all about living loud.
Thank you so much for tuning in once again. We hope to see you all next week.
Make sure you stay focused this week on looking for God even when you can't see Him. We've been doing this here at Westminster for years. We call them God sightings. Look for something this week that makes you go, wow. Maybe it's thunder in a thunderstorm, or maybe it's a moment when it's really, really quiet and calm. Or maybe it's something that's really funny.
Hopefully your week is filled with lots of these moments, but make sure you stay focused so that you don't miss them.
Until next week.
Bye.